So, what would you, as a fellow dinosaur in the fitness industry, uh, suggest to new personal trainers on the market?
Wow. I mean, I guess if we were kind of looking back at what we've just kind of been discussing, I suppose have a clear idea first and foremost, an avatar of who you want to train, who it makes sense for you to train. You know, if you want to, training elite athletes may not be the best course of action for you.
Jason is with me today, and we will talk a lot about the fitness industry, nutrition, and of course, his own specialty field, which is behavior change. Hey, Jason, how you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, good to see
Been a long time.
you. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to see you live again pretty soon in less than 2 months. And if everything goes well, I hope to see you even twice. So one time for a special event that we're doing, and the second time for my own special event, which is my 40th birthday. So I can already hear it knocking on my door, to be fair. It's, the big 40 is trying to get me.
You're still in great shape though, buddy. You're still hanging on.
Doing what I can, trying to be the good example
Yeah.
for everybody else while being 40. But it's not so hard to do to stay in shape if you know how to adjust things in daily life. So I think this is something that we should, as an industry, as a fitness industry, talk probably a bit more about. And my opinion is anyway that we train in our 30s and 40s to be able to wipe our own ass when we are 70 and 80. So it's a bit on the long run, what I'm training for. But yeah, how you doing, by the way? What is going on in your life?
Um, I guess, exciting news. So my ethics application at the University of Birmingham to run my first study has just been approved a week ago. So I'm just now recruiting participants for my study. As far as I'm aware, it's going to be the largest scale study of post-pandemic client behavior globally. There's about 3,500 participants in that.
Wow.
So that's all kind of coming together now rapidly. So another couple of weeks of participant recruitment, and then I'll kind of get into crunching the numbers. So that's really exciting. So yeah, I'm in the second year of my PhD. Kind of bubbled along for a while, but yeah, now it seems to have kind of stepped up. And yes, it's exciting.
Let me, because I want to know a bit more about your journey from, where are you coming from, how did you got into the fitness industry and so on. But still, we will definitely go back to that. 3,000, over 3,500 participants for your study. How
Yeah.
did, how the hell do you recruit them?
Okay, so it's like a retrospective study, so that the data's out there. It's happened historically. So the kind of the time frame is April 2021 to the end of March 2024. So I don't know about the timings in Slovenia, but in April 2021, that's when the gyms kind of reopened, and
Yeah.
we dusted off COVID. So basically, what I'm looking at is retention, client satisfaction within the kind of commercial gym environment. So I'm recruiting participants from within my own company. So I've been quite, I suppose, smart in the way that I've set up the study design. So the participants are there. I just need to kind of get authorization from them to use their data. So unlike most research done on the personal training industry, which is done by nerds in universities, I'm a practitioner. So I'm in the trenches. I'm on the ground. So I'm immersed within the environment. So I'm just kind of recruiting from within.
I think that's something that I was always searching for. And when I was doing my podcast in November with Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, I think Brad is one of the guys that was coming from the practitioner side of things and then moved, as well as you did right now, or doing it right now, into the scientific field. And I think the perspective that you have, because you were working with people so long, for so much time, it gives you a different perspective on things. It's more real. It's more like real life based what you do. And for me, this was always a huge thing when I decided, okay, who to follow and who to listen to. And right now, I would say like Brad is my absolute number one.
Yeah.
Then Lane Norton would be my number two. Mike Israetel is my absolute favorite because of his weird kind of humor that he puts into the field. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to trying at least to get some of those people next to Brad on my podcast as well. But I'm really happy to have you here and share, the views out of many years in the fitness industry. How long, Jason, have you been in the industry?
About 17 years, 16, 17 years. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of put myself up with, Brad. He's an icon in research and what he does. But I think there's very kind of few of us that kind of walk the very kind of thin line between practitioner and, researcher, academic, and, having that kind of balance. And I suppose a lot of the kind of the context, and the kind of understanding the backstory, and I suppose seeing the kind of the bigger, broader picture when we kind of look at the research. And it's almost kind of done in reverse, that we have certain kind of beliefs and a certain level of intuition around our understanding of the industry and client behavior and so on. But it's, I suppose, looking at that through a more critical, structured way to kind of prove or disprove, what we kind of believe to be true. And, a lot of the kind of problems or issues, I suppose, with, with the industry, with the personal training industry, or, various kind of sporting industries is, we've just done things the way they've always been done. And sometimes we need to kind of look at something and just, judge it a bit more critically. And, think, is there a better way to do this? And, viewing it that way, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. How did you start? Or, 17 years ago, how did you start? How did you got into the fitness industry?
So in my professional life, I've just followed my two passions, which were music and fitness training. So I worked in radio and TV, music TV for a few years, 5-6 years, at the BBC. So I was there for a while. I don't know if you've heard of the show Top of the Pops and stuff like that. You've heard of Top of the Pops?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked on that for a little while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that was when I was very young. So I was a runner and a researcher there. But the BBC being what it is, it's a very hierarchical organization, and it takes years to move up, and I got, I suppose, frustrated. So then I kind of pivoted into the personal training industry. The other thing I liked doing, apart from listening to music and going out, was training. So I moved into the fitness industry. Seemed to be good at it. Landed on my feet, was able to kind of build a business. And then what kind of set myself apart, or how I wanted to set myself apart, was, to really invest in my education and upskilling, and being the best trainer in whatever environment I was in. And that, I suppose, environment, broadens. But at that time, I just wanted to be the best guy in that gym, the smartest guy in that gym. And that's when, I suppose, at some point, I did my strength and conditioning accreditation and worked in as a S&C coach in football. But athletics and working with elite athletes wasn't really my passion. And then kind of around that time, I became aware of our friend Phil Learney, and went to all his seminars. You know, I travel around England. I mean, not as far as you travel. You know, you jump on a plane to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
credit to you.
I
But
did forget. I did forget that we were attending a lot of seminars together, and
yeah,
I realized that when I was looking at the pictures back then. I said, "Hey, that's Jason, man. He
yeah,
was
yeah,
there as well."
yeah.
I was doing the
So
same thing.
yeah, so you know, we went to different seminars. You know, I would go to Manchester and Cardiff, and you know, travel around England. And you know, I guess most people, you know, didn't do that, don't do that, right? You know, Phil will tell you, like, people will, you know, won't want to travel, you know, an hour train ride to go to a seminar, you know, or
Yeah.
they'll complain about doing stuff. Whereas there'll be other guys that, you know, will jump on a plane like yourself, or, you know, jump on a train, book a hotel. So it became easy, really, I suppose, to level up, to get ahead. So I did, you know, did that for a while, and I was in the kind of in the suburbs of London, the outskirts of London, and then I moved into the financial district, where things were a bit more serious, a bit more kind of professional. You know, we were able to charge more. Clients, you know, they had the money and the resources to do that, but with that came, you know, they had higher expectations from what they wanted from a trainer. So, you know, I continued that kind of pathway, continued to learn, did a master's, and then, you know, so I just mentioned, you know, now I'm doing a PhD, but that's a kind of like, I suppose, a summary of 17 years in this business. But
You,
yeah,
well, you did your.
education has been, you know, my kind of leverage to get
I
ahead.
see. I see. You did your master's in nutrition science.
Yeah, sport and exercise nutrition at Middlesex University. Yeah, and my thesis, or my specialty, was on testosterone production, natural testosterone
Wow.
production in the older male, middle-aged male.
That's quite interesting. Have you
Yeah.
gone into the field? Well, natural production, I understand that, but have you tried to look up the research how to help someone that is not in its best, capabilities of natural production? Does it make sense, like TRT or something like that?
Um, yeah, I mean, just deciding how controversial we want to take this. I mean, yeah,
Hey,
I'm
knock
pro.
yourself out.
Sorry.
Knock yourself out. We're good.
Okay. So I'm like pro testosterone, and I don't mean you know, super physiological doses from, you
Yeah.
know, synthetic testosterone, but for me, testosterone is a you know, I described it in my thesis as intrinsically linked to the youthful attributes of masculinity, right? So essentially, as I see it, testosterone is the elixir of youth. So we want to kind of maintain robust levels for as long as we can, right? You know, into our, you know, through our middle age, you know, into our older years. Now, there's a continuum of treatment. So at the kind of very low ranges of testosterone, sure, I would be an advocate for considering TRT if there weren't any kind of health implications. But, you know, long before you go down the route of synthetic testosterone, you know, there are lots of things, you know, a man can do to kind of maintain healthy levels of testosterone. So, you know, training, diet, you know, body
Good sleep.
composition, stress management, sleep. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that, actually, and you know, you should get kind of Phil back on to kind of talk about sleep. But you know, when I talk about all these kind of different supplements that might benefit testosterone, you know, vitamin D, zinc, etc., the biggest thing I could do for myself is to get more sleep. Right?
Yeah.
Quite often it is that basic. You know, I don't get enough sleep, and that will kind of benefit me. But yeah, there's a broad range of you know, continuum of treatment and things we can do to improve our testosterone levels. You know, starting with, you know, just general you know, self-care, you know, exercise, nutrition, diet, etc., through to, you know, synthetic testosterone if, you know, if your levels are in the toilet.
But sleep becomes a bit tricky, especially for us more busy folks. We're trying to do, a lot of stuff at the moment. So how you get enough sleep with family, all the obligations you have, daily life is getting onto you. So that I believe that that will be a big topic of the future. Definitely. We work more than we used to. I mean, my dad used to work a lot, in my opinion, when I was young. But looking back now, he was doing some work at home extra because, I'm not from a very wealthy family or whatever, but I would still argue that my childhood was way better than my kids' childhood is, because my dad and my mom, they've had so much more time for us than I have for them, and we've spent so much quality time together. I mean, I was my dad was a mechanic, and when I was 10 years old, I was doing some mechanical work on cars in our home garage, and he taught me so many things that I'm so really grateful for, and it's helping me, in getting a different perspective in life as well. So that's the difference. But still, sleep right now, I would be, if I'm talking about sleep, I wouldn't be practice what I'm preaching. And I don't know if you know my history. Back in 2012, I did a world record attempt for the Guinness Book, and I was cycling for 11 days nonstop with around 20 minutes of sleep per day, or 20 minutes of combined rest per day.
I don't think you could go for that record now. Isn't there something in the Guinness Book of Records where they don't like
It,
include
it it
sleep
was back
deprivation?
then. It was back then. So I broke the record in May 2012, and then in
Oh,
November someone else broke it, so I didn't got into the book. But doing that after my world record attempt, because of lack of sleep, and I was preparing for it for over a year. So for over a year, I was sleeping less than 2 hours per night, and my testosterone levels after my world record attempt were just, bottom low. I was pretty much on a daily production compared to a female with light PCOS,
okay.
which was around, I believe the measured testosterone production, daily testosterone production, was below 1 milligram per day. And it
Okay.
should be what the average was between 5 and 8, I believe, something like that, because the values might, vary from country to country. It depends which measurement tool or which measurements you're using, but still, that was really super low. And I was spending a lot of time going around doctors, asking what it could be, what could, and what I can do for it. And the best that I got was in Austria back then, because I was working in Austria around that time, and the doctor prescribed me like a testosterone cream. But the testosterone cream was, not doing much. To be fair, it was increasing my testosterone by, let's say, 0.5 milligrams in a year. So
Mm.
that was pretty much next to nothing. And then I said, no, that's enough. I was not even 30 years old, and having a lot of problems because of that, like cognitive function, sleep, tiredness, constant, like chronic fatigue, and so on. So I said I have to do something about it. So that was the time where I started to really read a lot of stuff about TRT and how to help myself. And quite honestly, the price that you get certain things, on the market today, it's insane. And then you start to think, okay, why not? Why is that still such a taboo topic,
Mm.
when we could help so many people to get, back to normal life pretty much immediately? So why are we not talking about it a bit more? Um, so yeah, after that, I started to talk about that on my seminars when someone asked me, and so on. So it wasn't such a taboo topic anymore for me. How is your experience with that on the market?
Yeah, I'm when I talk about the wonders of testosterone. I'm not talking about doses, big doses where, you're building muscle and you're kind of becoming
Yeah.
more, athletic faster. So not from a physical perspective, but from those things that you kind of mentioned, that kind of, motivation, energy, drive, enthusiasm, passion, and, lust for life, that those kind of things that are kind of tied up in kind of testosterone. And yeah, it is somewhat of a taboo subject, and I think the medical industry, certainly, in the UK, are kind of very kind of reluctant to get involved or to kind of take any kind, to kind of investigate it. And it is a shame. Low testosterone is linked to kind of depression and suicide. Often people are misdiagnosed as being depressed when they have low testosterone and prescribed, antidepressants. And then, with antidepressant use, that's going to, increase certain side effects of kind of low testosterone. So yeah, I just think it needs to be kind of brought into the kind of the fore, discussed more, as a hormone that's so important to the kind of well-being of men and women.
Yeah. Well, not long ago, I'm trying to pull it up right now, and maybe later on I can put it on the screen as well. I was looking at a study, longitudinal study. It was a meta-analysis of studies for low testosterone and linked to depression.
Yeah.
And it was done in, I believe, 2018. So it might correct myself later on, and I will just pop it up on the screen. And for the first time ever, someone was examining like high dosages of testosterone replacement to treat depression states. And the study, or the meta-analysis, showed that dosages above 500 milligram per week were quite effective, or as effective, or even more effective, with less negative side effects compared to antidepressant drugs. So that was quite interesting to me. I will send the study over to you. I don't know if you know that, but it was a UK-based study, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Addressing low testosterone, hypogonadal testosterone levels, you'd assume that it would, raise the kind of the mood and the outlook of the individual concerned. And certainly, if that is the cause, low testosterone, it'd be a much better route than antidepressants for kind of treating that.
Okay, so how did you go to behavior change from nutrition science?
Okay, so
it's kind of normal. It's natural, connected, but still.
I think so now that I'm kind of on that journey and that kind of transition. But at the time, I can narrow it down to a specific client I was working with. So it was during lockdown. I was working with someone remotely. She was a large, an overweight woman, short in stature. Weight was north of 100 kilos. And she was telling me, we were doing our kind of weekly check-in, and she was telling me, I'm eating 1,000 calories a day, and I'm still not losing weight. And yeah, that was kind of my impression. But I wasn't gonna outright call her a liar. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's just kind of break it down and then just rebuild every habit, one after the other. So we're going to look at all the things that, we've been discussing earlier. So, sleep, and so on. So, first thing I've got to do, so before I even kind of looked at her diet and kind of, added any kind of restriction or kind of moderation to her diet, what I wanted her to do was to increase her hydration. So what she was telling me was, she didn't drink any water at all. All she drank in terms of liquids was, coffees and diet sodas. So I was like, okay, right, we need to address this to start with, because what's probably happening is you're confusing the thirst signal that your brain's getting with hunger. And when you're thirsty, which is going to be constantly, instead you think you're hungry, so you're, opening the fridge and, eating snacks. So she was a large lady because of her, weight, over 100 kg. She should be drinking, around about 3 liters of water per day. So she wasn't drinking anything. So to start with, I was going to scale that up so it kind of didn't overwhelm her. I wanted to get her to drink, 1 liter of water per day. That's all that she's got to do this week. That was the only kind of behavior that we wanted to kind of task we wanted to add in. The most water I could get her to drink was 750 milliliters. That was the highest point I could get her to drink. So here I was, I must have been 13, 14 years in the business. I've got a master's in sport and exercise nutrition. So, I know some stuff, right? I've got some experience, but I am totally incapable of getting this woman to drink even a liter of water per day. So all this information I know is of no use. I can't action any of this stuff. So it was in that point I thought, well, actually, excuse me, I don't need to know like more information. What I need to learn is how I can get people to do the stuff we already know. And when we kind of bring that back down to weight loss, which for most of my clients, being Gen Pop clients, I can't think of a single client I've got that doesn't want some aspect of weight loss. Some of them also want to build muscle, but all of them want to lose fat and would kind of improve their body composition as a result of that. It's the first law of thermodynamics. People have got to move more and eat less. It's calorie management. So the premise of what we're trying to achieve is very simple, but for whatever reason, we struggle to either make the change in the first place or to kind of make that change, long term. So I just realized, at that point, I don't have the skills that I need to be as effective as I want to be with the kind of clients that I want to work with, Gen Pop clients. So that's when I thought, well, actually, now I need to go down the route of understanding the mechanics of behavior change. So yeah, that one client there motivated me to kind of pursue my PhD in behavioral science.
I was doing my educational process. I was trying to find so much literature on behavior change, on psychology connected to nutrition and eating. What is influencing us to choose certain foods, how we change that, and so on and so on. And I got, into motivational interviewing, into transactional analysis, into different kinds of or different fields of psychology. I was asking my psychology friends, like a lot, okay, what do you think? How do you see it? And blah, blah, blah. And this was really helpful during my career to change many, many lives. And it was something that I was willing to do. But then looking at the industry, what is happening all around us, and as you said before, I was willing to jump on a plane, travel wherever, book the hotels, get a rental cars, and so on and so on, pay for everything to get myself educated more on fields that are helping me with my biggest clientele. And I believe that still, I would argue that definitely more than 90% of the clientele of pretty much the majority of personal trainers out there is the Gen Pop client. And what we see is that most of the trainers are going and spending the money and time on education that they will never use with our biggest clientele. They will never train an athlete, elite level athletes, because it's hard to get to them. Then the second thing is, the reality of training an athlete. If you're not training them in a club environment, football, hockey, volleyball, whatever, it's pretty much unlikely that you will work with them, throughout a year. What you get per year is probably a couple of weeks tops, 8-10 weeks tops. That's the reality of it. And then you learn all of that stuff, how to periodize and micromanage your athlete without having any athletes to train. And what's happening is, this is just my observation. Maybe you can tell me your point of view on that. My observation is that I see so many trainers going to all of that specialty workshops for training the athlete and then trying to apply the same principles with the Gen Pop clients, and getting them into snatches, cleans, jerks, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. Mm-hmm. And trying to get them to train as a pro athlete. which is not working well. And I was talking about that with Clifton Harsky a while ago. Train athletically with movements and so on, because you don't get to play the sport. So the training will be different to an athlete. But what I'm just not getting is, why don't you spend at least the same amount of time and energy on educating yourself how to cater for the clientele that is bringing you the most of money,
Mm.
paying you to do your job constantly, week in, week out, all the year, and then you spend all of that money, all of your effort, all of your energy on educating yourself how to service a clientele that you will never train. I just don't get it. What is your point of view on that one?
Yeah. So yeah, I studied to be a strength and conditioning coach. So I did my UK Strength and Conditioning Association accreditation, and yeah, I kind of learned some stuff around programming and the justification of certain exercises that was useful, I suppose. But almost instantly, I realized that there's going to be no payoff to trying to teach clients to do cleans and snatches and so on, because the problem with your whole methodology being based around triple extension is you need to be really good at snatching and cleans anyway, and shifting some serious weight to get some benefit from doing that in terms of developing your power. If you're trying to teach someone who's pretty poorly coordinated how to do a snatch, there may be some skill development, but in terms of actually changing their strength or their power development, it's going to be kind of non-existent, or it's going to take months, which in the grand scheme of things, you're not really going to move that client forward. So pretty soon I realized that Olympic lifts don't suit Gen Pop. But even if you look at it, even if you look at now, and I'm going to be somewhat controversial, and I'm going to start by saying that you should speak to Michael Gordon, who's Michael Gordon, the RTS guy here.
No.
I'll link you in with him. So I work with this guy, very into kind of biomechanics, lines of force, strength curves, resistance curves, because I'm interested in doing that kind of stuff. But for Gen Pop clients, do they need to be training at that kind of precise level? Maybe if you were training bodybuilders, that would be kind of beneficial. But I still think that even some of the stuff that I've studied, biochemistry and that kind of stuff, actually we need to learn interpersonal skills, right? The actual information that we need to train clients, get them to do a leg press, get them to do a squat, get them to do a step up, get them to do a shoulder press. Once we've kind of learned how to coach those movements, actually it's kind of the interpersonal skills I think we need to kind of develop to be more effective. So the things you kind of mentioned earlier, motivational interviewing, behavior change, what I'm studying, that is the kind of stuff that is going to make a huge impact in our clients if we can kind of nail that stuff and being able to coach that kind of stuff. If I could get all my clients to move more and eat less, I'll be a rich man, right? They don't need to know about, lines of force and strength curves and resistance profiles. It might make their, lateral raise a bit more efficient, but actually most of my clients are trying to lose weight rather than, get capped deltoids.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, so I guess in summary, where I'm at right now, 17 years in the business, coaching other coaches like yourself, is I think we need to develop the interpersonal skills. So whether that is behavior change or kind of business development or business management, those are the skills that are going to make us more effective, and improve our bank balances, our businesses, retain clients. Raise the standard of our kind of coaching. Those are the skills. That's where we need to kind of focus our attention, in my opinion. All these other stuff about kind of programming and biomechanics and anatomy is fascinating, and I think we should learn that kind of stuff. But in terms of being more effective, I think that's probably secondary to the interpersonal skills, the soft skills, the human skills, the communication
Yeah.
skills.
I mean, we have to distinguish between basics, what you have to know in, to be able to perform a good job as a trainer, which would be some basic anatomy knowledge should be there, basic physiology should be there. At least you have to know about, how the body gets its energy into the muscle tissue and so on and so on. But, going into a PhD level of scientific research just to be able to take, Doris down the road and get her to lose 10 kilos, I don't think that is really that much important for a trainer. It's good to know. Sure, if you have the extra time of doing that, just go for it. Perfect. And I'm still trying to include a bit more knowledge, the science-based stuff, into our courses, into our seminars and everything, because I think it is important to challenge yourself with that as well. But will this make the change with your clients? I don't think so. What I think is knowing all that stuff and knowing how to apply it and how to, make it simple for your client, that will be the thing that, will work long term the most. Not just, talking about the next or the first new study that you can get your hands on and then explain it to your clients, because it doesn't do anything for them. But still, how do we change that? How can we get more trainers into going into education that we provide, like behavior change, what you will be talking about on one of our seminars as well? So how can we motivate the trainers into changing direction, going away from that very specific training models that are trying to educate themselves on, and getting them to get more knowledge in behavior change, psychology? How?
I think it's understanding who our client is and what they want, and then kind of reverse engineering, our own kind of development and our own quest for knowledge to suit the client. Now, I was just talking about interpersonal skills and communication skills and behavior change. Those are the skills we need, I believe, to make us effective at kind of fat loss coaches. I think it is different if clients come to us and they want to kind of build muscle, then, we bring your kind of guy, Brad's kind of knowledge into that. And you need to know more about kind of programming, reps, rest, exercise selection and so on. So sure, there's definitely like a place for that. But I think the mistake we make, and I've been very guilty of that, training my clients how I want to train based around my goals, kind of hypertrophy and kind of strength development. But if we kind of remember that for most of our clients, they don't want to be, they don't want to put pack on, tons of muscle. They just want to, have a flat stomach, be kind of lean enough that their kind of health isn't compromised. Then we need to kind of, and they're busy guys, they can't train 6 days a week. They don't have time to kind of prepare all their own food. So we understand who our client avatar is, then we can kind of, build our education syllabus around that. So there's definitely like a place for programming skills, exercise coaching skills, exercise execution. But if our clients are primarily driven by weight loss, we need to kind of develop skills that are going to help us achieve that goal. But I found I found there wasn't a lot of information out there, or there is information around behavior change, but it's not kind of explicitly around, you know, what we do. So when I started kind of talking about this on my kind of socials, there seemed to be a real appetite for it. You know, as I mentioned, I wrote the behavior change framework for Pure Gym Europe. So, you know, they've got like the kind of the 3,000 odd PTs, you know, working under that banner. So it's, you know, it's a huge organization. So I put together the framework for them. I've been out to Copenhagen to deliver seminars at, you know, SAT's Health Club there. So whilst you know, there isn't kind of ready information on there, the industry, you know, throughout Europe seems to be you know, keen on you know, finding out more about this. You know, and I guess it's just kind of like a new the new kind of phase in the industry as the industry kind of matures. You know, in our lifetime, the industry was kind of built around bodybuilders, right?
Yeah.
Everything is about bodybuilders, and we're going to flick through these kind of bodybuilding magazines, and you know, that's how we're going to learn how to be personal trainers. You know, then it was you know, athletes, everyone's in it. You know, I thought to be the, you know, the uber trainer, the ultimate trainer, I'm actually going to be a strength and conditioning coach. It's not relevant for my demographic, but you know, there was certainly a phase where everything was kind of designed around training elite athletes. You know, now I think perhaps it's moved on. The, you know, it's a bit more realistic, a bit more holistic. You know, where we're looking at the kind of the well-being of individuals. You know, the health of individuals. You know, the you know, hormonal health of individuals, you know, that kind of stuff. So maybe this is just a kind of like the kind of the next chapter, the next evolution in the role of a personal trainer.
Hopefully, because something needs to change. It's also the demographic that needs our services the most, because, you know, they just don't do things. I think that every single one of my clients, and I'm in the industry for almost 24 years,
wow,
knew pretty much what to do, but they were not doing it. So what they pay you for is to guide them through the complexities of exactly changing their behaviors, because, you know, all of them know that it's about calorie deficit. It's, you know, that's everywhere. And I still see so many trainers just tell them, yeah, you got to be in calorie deficit. Yeah, but how do I reach that? How do I combine the calorie deficit or the energy deficit with my daily life, with my, you know, social obligations? If I have to go for a birthday, do I eat cake? Don't I? Can I have a pizza? No. When? How much exactly? And so on. So it's more like managing their desires and what they should do. This is what they're paying us for.
I love that. That's a great point. And, you know, one that it's kind of occurred to me recently when clients have said to me, you know, new clients, you know, are you going to write me a meal plan? And I say, well, how about you write me a meal plan? And they're like, you know, they're thinking I'm the professional, I'm going to write them the meal plan. But like you said, most clients probably know what they should be eating, right? They're not going to put, you know, McDonald's, milkshake, bottle of wine. They're going to put, oh, well, let's give this guy some chicken. Let's give him some rice. Let's give him some broccoli. You know, let's make sure he's drinking plenty of water. Clients know this stuff now. It's not like 10 or 20 years ago. You know, clients are well informed. No, obviously there's a lot of kind of nonsense out there, but you know, clients can get a lot of kind of good information from social media. So, you know, they understand about deficit, you know, they understand that, you know, that carbs aren't necessarily bad, you know, the information is out there. So it's not an information issue, it's an implementation issue. What we're trying to do is get clients to do, you know, what they need to do. And, you know, maybe that's, you know, putting in the framework where, you know, we have the structures that hold them accountable. You know, are we kind of tracking their, you know, calorie intake, protein intake, you know, movement, whether it's kind of steps, you know, have we created, you know, options for them that don't revolve around, you know, preparing all their own food from scratch and, you know, walking around with, you know, cold Tupperware. You know, one of the mistakes I made was, you know, telling my clients they need to eat regimented times, and they're turning around to me and like,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'm in meetings then. Like I can't just base my life around eating and when to eat and when to train. First and foremost, I've got, hopefully their family, then their job in that order. It might be their job and then their family, but it's certainly not going to be training and meal prep as their number one
Yeah.
priorities. And the mistake I think the industry makes is, thinking our clients are like us. And, we need to remember that, I've built my life and certainly my career around facilitating training, right? That's how important it is that, I work in a gym, I have access to equipment, this is where I spend probably most of my week in the gym. So for me, it's quite easy or easier to train. Our clients haven't set their lives up around, training and prepping. And the kind of more affluent clients we have, typically the more kind of demanding their jobs are going to be. So yeah, it's I think the skills we need to kind of develop as trainers that are able to, or coaches that are able to kind of support high net worth individuals, are more lifestyle management. It extends beyond just let's program some exercises, let's give someone calorie and macro targets. How are we going to manage their poor sleep, their high stress, their inability to kind of get to the gym frequently, their travel, foreign travel, that kind of stuff. That's, I think, going to be the kind of skills we're going to want to develop, certainly if we're going to want to charge more for working with these individuals. So we're moving away from, the kind of the technical skills of biomechanics, anatomy. They're obviously important and should kind of make up their foundation. But, if we want to turn personal training, me and Phil probably got 75 years of personal training experience between us, right? If you're going to turn what we do into a career, right, a long-term career, there will be a kind of an evolution or a progression to our skill set. So yeah, we're going to have to kind of read those textbooks and learn about, the Krebs cycle and, energy metabolism, etc., anatomy, biomechanics. We are going to need to learn that stuff, but we're going to want to layer that stuff with, other things, business skills, diary management, clients, lifestyle management, lifestyle change, behavior change, understanding about well-being, mental health. So, over the course of a longer career, long-term career, we need to kind of broaden our mindsets in terms of the kind of stuff that we need to learn and we need to develop.
Especially business-wise. I mean, the lack of ideas business-wise that I see in our industry, it's still so amazing. Everybody just thinks, okay, I mean, the most bizarre thing that I've heard was, yeah, but I've built my website. I said, yeah, so what? Well, I was thinking that this is what I have to do. Well, but you have to put something on that website that is drawing people to it. It's just not enough just to have a website and nobody knows about you. And then people have social media accounts and they don't post anything of value. So why would anybody follow you? Why? Just because you have a social media account, because your name is there, that's not good enough. And I decided to do a 30-day free mentorship for 10 trainers, just to help them see the different paths, what can be done if you just sit down and put the work into it. And I'm going to do it internationally because we do educate trainers in the Middle East, Europe, US, and so on. So I want all of them to be able to do something like that. And at the end of the day, I was thinking that the markets are so different. Well, there are certain things that are different. So how people think, or what is, behaviors are very, very different. If I'm looking at the Middle East, what is going on, and then compare it to the European market, it's insane to me as a European how the people in the Middle East are functioning right now. Let me give you an example. So let's say we have a landing page like the one I've showed you for our seminar, right? And usually what I want to do is I want to talk to each and every potential student that would come into our course, because I want to just see who it is and how can we change our directions as a company to cater better for the market that we are at. So that's why I'm still doing all of the onboarding calls on my own, because I want to be aware of what's going on. Out of 100 booked calls online through the landing page, only 20%, only 20 calls would actually happen in the Middle East. 95% would actually happen in Europe, because
Okay.
people are so much more willing to talk to you and to get the extra info, even if they went through the landing page. And that's the second difference. The second difference: people in the Middle East do not seem to read anything. Okay, so they go to the web page, click on the first button they see, and that's it. And that's the reason why they don't attend. And anyway, because they don't see the value in it. Whereas I see in Europe, when people just go to the landing page, they actually read, and they can extract most of the info out of the landing page before going to the call, and you answer really like more detailed questions on that call. Whereas I see in the Middle East, when we have social media ads running, that's kind of funny. So you have the social media ad, and the call to action would be click on the link below to know more, right? What people in the Middle East tend to do is they do not click on the link of the ad. They click on your profile and then message you, what's the price? You know what I mean? Just click on the link and you would get the price like in 5 seconds. No, they click on your profile, they message you, what's the price, and then wait for 24 hours so that you can reply to them and they get a price. And all you do basically is just take the info from the landing page and put it into the messages. So they spend 2 to 3 days messaging back and forth to get the info that they would pretty much get in 2 minutes just by clicking on the link. But those differences are something that you just have to understand, know, and know how to work with that. And I think business skills and the soft skills, the communication skills and everything, the interpersonal skills, this is something that nobody is teaching. So
No.
that was my main reason why I was inviting you to do the seminar with us, and create like some kind of a continuing education that would provide those soft skills to trainers, because they urgently need them, but most of them are still not aware of the fact that they need them. But it's funny, isn't it? So
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, I suppose you can definitely do stuff that kind of accelerate your development, but there's a certain amount of you've got to pay your dues in this industry, and in order to have the kind of different clients in front of you working with you, you need to have built a business in the first place. So without having business skills and the ability to communicate with people, you're not really going to get that opportunity to sharpen those technical skills. Do you see what I mean? So,
yeah,
you have to be able to communicate with people and have to be able to build a business in order to get better as a coach.
absolutely. I remember Luke Lehman, my
Oh,
brother
yeah.
from another mother. He'll be here for my 40th, by the way. So,
Oh, really?
uh,
Okay.
yeah. So we've talked with Luke a while ago. It was 2-3 years ago on a podcast as well. And before that, in 2017, Luke made an awesome social media post about trainers going into diverse marketing workshops just to sell better, and usually sell a lot of bullshit, but just to get the money in. And he said, when we were starting out, we were investing in our professional development first. And then if you get undeniably good, you get clients immediately, because, you produce something of high value. I think both points of view are valid. So you need to do, and you need to invest in your professional development, but know how to make it more valuable with communication and business skills. Because if you cannot sell anything, or if you cannot acquire your first 5 clients, what is going what is the professional development going to do to anybody? You will not have, a place or a platform to show it to nobody. So you have to have both. And that was my idea when I was creating our courses for personal trainers, to combine solid professional knowledge and professional development with initial or basics or fundamental business skills, so they know from day one how to work, on a very decent level as personal trainers when they get their certification, and know how to market themselves as well to get their first clients.
Yeah.
That was the initial idea. I think that, that was quite necessary, because I'm not aware of any other certification, the fundamental certification like level 3 in the UK, that would provide that. So I wanted to change that. That there was a huge gap. How do you see it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. These skills are not taught as part of our formal structured education. For some individuals, like yourself, that are curious and are able to kind of interpret scientific literature, you can kind of go out there and sift through the material and understand how you can translate that to what we do. But accessing literature can be challenging. I'm fortunate that I have, through association with the university, I can access a lot of papers, so it makes it easier for me to research, and I have kind of research skills that I've been taught. But that needs to be, I suppose, simplified and kind of translated into language that the layperson can understand. A lot of this kind of literature isn't written particularly well in terms of how to kind of read it and apply it. So for sure there's a place for this kind of information to be kind of translated or kind of distilled into language and structured in ways that can make it applicable to Gen Pop or even bodybuilders or athletes. But getting that information, putting the right information in front of people is going to be key.
Definitely. Good. To sum it up, behavior change is definitely a big thing. So is there anything else that you would like, as Phil and I call ourselves like dinosaurs of the fitness industry because we're so long in the industry. So what would you, as a fellow dinosaur in the fitness industry, suggest to new personal trainers on the market? Like your top 3-5 things to do as a new trainer.
Wow. I mean, I guess if we were kind of looking back at what we've just kind of been discussing, I suppose have a clear idea first and foremost, an avatar of who you want to train, who it makes sense for you to train. If you want to, training elite athletes may not be the best course of action for you. And I've worked both at Brentford Football Club and Millwall Football Club. And it was cool working with these kind of very talented individuals, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. Or I found working with individuals, long term, I'm seeing these guys, 100 times a year, that's only twice per week. I have kind of, bonds with these guys, and I see them really kind of develop in many ways over that time. So I found that more enjoyable. So I suppose first and foremost, have a think or be clear in your own mind who it is that you want to train. And then, once you know that, then you can then invest your time, resources into kind of developing in those areas. So if you want to work with, the broadest spectrum of people, and that might be, or that would be Gen Pop clients, their primary goal is going to be fat loss. So you need to kind of work out the skills you need to kind of develop to make you more effective to that demographic. If you want to work with individuals that want to build muscle, that's a different set of skills, and your attention might be kind of drawn elsewhere. So I suppose, yeah, number one, work out who you want to work, who you want to train, who you want to work with. Number two, work out the kind of skills that you need. And then I guess number three, yeah, I mean, the last point you made, having a kind of a balanced, broader skill set. So investing some time in the technical skills and some time in the kind of interpersonal skills. So having a broader spectrum of skills, I suppose, in your toolbox, tools at your disposal.
Good.
But yeah, top two, work out who you're going to train, and then work out the skills you'll need to train them.
Definitely. Jason, thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to see you again, and let's repeat that one in in a decent time, foreseeable time,
Yeah.
probably in the next couple of months. And well, you know what? Maybe even when you visit me, that we can do something like live at the same table. I like that.
Yeah.
So, man, thanks. And this was the episode of the Next Gen PT for this time. Thank you for listening. If you think about it, just click the subscribe button, hit the bell to be reminded of every new episode that we put up. And if you have any kind of questions, any suggestions, please message me. Don't hesitate. And I'm looking really forward to bring more interesting people out of the fitness industry into the podcast. So see you next time.